Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So I would just like to present the award for the most whiny moany person in the world, and that would definitely have to go to the Megsy herself. I am back with another video, and this is regarding the latest installment from Meghan Markle, who has titled herself as the most trolled person in the entire world during the year of 2019. So she spoke to a podcast and she was actually interviewed along with Harry for World Mental Health Day, and she shared that she felt as though she was the most trolled person in the world, and this is her pretty much pulling out the violins and trying to play the victim, because the reality of it is that she doesn't have any likability, she has limited credibility, and it's all catching up with her now. She's not a liked person, especially by the British public, who was funding her lifestyle for an extremely long time, and we still partially are, because that Netflix deal pretty much hasn't come through just yet, because they haven't even produced any work. I'm sure they're working on it behind the scenes, and I'm sure we will see some documentaries, some woke documentaries from the Megsy and Harry camp any day now. But until then, we are still funding them because, as I've said previously in this video, Netflix would not have given them such a large advance without a guarantee or any production of work. So they are yet to fulfill that contract. Now, this article obviously has garnered a hell of a lot of attention. I can see 8,100 comments on the Daily Mail's article, and I'm going to get into it with you guys if you haven't already seen it. The article is titled, "I was the most trolled person in the entire world in 2019, says Meghan Markle, as she and Prince Harry speak to US teenagers for World Mental Health Day podcast from their Santa Barbara villa, their $14 million mansion." My heart aches for you, Meghan, it really does. It goes on to start with, Meghan Markle has said that she was the most trolled person in the entire world in 2019, as she and Prince Harry made their podcast debut for World Mental Health Day. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex discussed the stigma surrounding the topic and how we can all contribute to a healthier world, physically, mentally, emotionally and holistically, with high school students from their Santa Barbara villa. The podcast, entitled Teenager Therapy, describes itself online as 5 stressed, sleep-deprived yet energetic teens sit down and talk about the struggles that come with being a teenager. The most recent episode, starring Harry, 36, and Meghan, 39, went live this evening and saw the couple talk to hosts Gail, Kel, and Thomas about their own experience of mental health. Meghan said that the impact of the pandemic had pushed people increasingly toward the internet, which she claimed opened up a vulnerability and a place for disconnection. She said, "I can speak personally because I'm told that in 2019, I was the most trolled person in the entire world, male or female." And she did definitely receive a lot of backlash in 2019, and it has continued on, to be honest. It has consistently been that way because Meghan Markle has made a hell of a lot of mistakes. So here we have a lovely image of Meghan and Harry in their Santa Barbara home, and you know they had to get that all-inclusive PR shot to really solidify that they are victims and document it at the same time, with the 3 kids moaning in their house. So I'm going to continue here. So she carries on to say, "Now 8 months of that I wasn't even visible. I was on maternity leave or with a baby, but what was able to just be manufactured and churned out is almost unsurvivable." What she said is that it was just too much for her to bear, considering she wasn't around. But she had her family talking to the media. She refused to speak to her father, who was feeding this engine. She refused to speak to her disabled sister, who was also feeding this engine. And then she was spending large, exorbitant sums of the UK taxpayers' money. While she was on maternity leave, she spent £2.4 million to renovate Frogmore, which she didn't actually end up moving into. She spent at least £2 to £3 million on her baby shower. She spent another elaborate amount of money for her birthday, and then she had spent at least £1 million on her clothing. So even though we wasn't seeing her, which, you know, only added to the trolling, because obviously who wants to pay for something that they can't see, that they're not having access to? She refused to tell us the names of the godparents for baby Archie. Of course, it was only going to get worse. So she carries on to say, and this is what a lot of people dislike about Meghan, is that she tries to play the victim and she doesn't think of it from both sides of the fence. You were spending our money, people got fed up, you was complaining about the job then, even when it was a part of her real duties to meet the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. She didn't show up, she refused to do it, something that Kate Middleton would never ever have done. So it's all of these little holes in her story, but she wants to come off as the victim continually. So I'm going to continue here. She added, "That's so big you can't even think about what that feels like, because I don't care if you're 15 or 25, if people are saying things about you that aren't true, what that does to your mental and emotional health is so damaging." Is this going to be the trajectory for the rest of Meghan Markle's career in America? Is she going to continue to moan about all the things that pretty much she hashed up? She made mistakes, and the things that was said about her was simply true. She did spend a lot of money on the renovations of Frogmore, which didn't come from her own purse. The public were angry about that. That contributed to the trolling. She refused to speak to her father. That contributed to the trolling. She refused to communicate with her brother and sister. That contributed to the trolling. She spent way more money on clothing than any other senior members of the royal fam. That contributed to the trolling. She lectured us on our carbon emissions along with Harry and proceeded to jump on, was it 3 or 4 private planes? That contributed to the trolling. Then she moaned at the end of the year in one of the most poorest countries in the world, in South Africa, about how hard it is to be rich and famous and well known. That contributed to the trolling. So she hasn't really helped herself, so how can she play the victim? So I'm going to continue on here. And so I think from my standpoint, and part of the work that we do from our own personal experience, being able to talk to people and understand that even though our experience is unique to us and obviously can seem very different to what people experience on the day to day, it's still a human experience, and that's universal. We all know what it feels like to have our feelings hurt. We all know what it feels like to be isolated or othered. We are all figuring it out. Meghan later added that she's now doing really well and said the past few months have been laid for everyone. We certainly can't complain. We are fortunate we all have our health. We have roofs over our heads. Well, not everyone, Meghan, especially people in South Africa. Not everyone in South Africa has a roof over their head, but you seem to have forgotten that key detail when you was moaning about your life. Anyway, I'm going to carry on. Harry added, "The unique part of our work is whatever you're going through and whatever other people are going through, it's all relative to that environment that they're in. For the majority of people I've spoken to in London or in the UK have been stuck in high-rise blocks of flats, unable to see any open grass or open green space. We felt incredibly grateful and fortunate to be able to have outdoor space where our son can walk." Oh, how amazing. Oh, so you're not suffering then. So you're not victims, right? It's good to see that they're actually recognising how privileged they are. Outdoor space where our son can walk his first steps. Outdoor space where he can just have enough space to run and move around. It's a huge blessing. It reminds me of how many people are stacked on top of each other and have been for month after month after month after month, and what that must do to people's mental health. The Duke of Sussex said, "I think putting your self-care as a priority is hugely important because vulnerability is not a weakness. Showing vulnerability in today's world especially is a strength. So I'm going to leave it there, guys, because they seem to have waffled on for quite some time. And I think it's important that we get the full dexterity of exactly what they said during this article as they try to garner public favour, sympathy and likability, because we know this is what Meghan and Harry really are looking for now. They're trying to get us to like them again. They're trying to get us to give them more favourable coverage and favourable online commentary so they can make more money, because let's face it, they're going to get their titles stripped any day now. It could be 3 months, 4 months, but it's going to happen because they've overstepped the mark and they've definitely gone too far. So I'll be back with part 2. Bye guys.